All right, NBA Finals are here. Let's fully unpack the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. Starting off with the Celtics, the best team in the NBA this season, basically for the entire year, ever since they got Porzingis and Jrue Holiday in the offseason. They finished with a 64-18 record, which was 7 more wins than the second best team, 14 more wins than Dallas. They had the best offensive rating in the regular season, second best defensive rating in the regular season. They had an 11.7 net rating, which puts them up there with the 73 Warriors and the 98 Bulls. Tatum was All-NBA first team. Jaylen Brown was right outside the All-NBA voting. Jrue Holiday and Derek White were both All-Defensive second team. I believe Tatum and Brown were both All-Stars. Of course, they went 12-2 in this playoff run, only losing one game to the Heat and the Cavs respectively, and then sweeping the Pacers in the conference finals. They have been dominant the entire season, and they have had finals expectations on them since the preseason, and now, they finally made it, and we're like, okay, it's kind of whatever. They have faced quite easy competition in the playoffs so far. Jimmy Butler was out, Donovan Mitchell got injured, Halliburton got injured. They never played the Bucks. Bucks never even were fully healthy. Embiid wasn't healthy. They've had a relatively easy path to the finals, but that is not a knock on them, as they've been dominant the entire season. Ending with a 72-20 record. 72-20 in this entire NBA season. To talk about the Mavericks a little bit on the other side, they've had a very interesting season. Last year, they didn't even make it to the play-in tournament, and they were 29-23 at this year's trade deadline. Last year was a bit of a train wreck. They traded for Kyrie at the trade deadline, which was an interesting move. They got him for low. And then the pairing never really worked out in the rest of the season. In the offseason, they got Derek Lively in the draft. Then this trade deadline, when they were 29-23, they got PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, and they ended up going 21-9 for the rest of the season, ending up with a 50-32 record. Luka was all NBA first team and top 3 in MVP voting. The Mavs then beat the Clippers in 6, Oklahoma Thunder in 6, and the number 1 defense in the league, the Timberwolves, in 5 games. Alright, let's quickly mention the narratives in this series as well. As obviously Kyrie Irving returning in Boston and Porzingis returning in Dallas. Kyrie's stint in Boston is infamous at this point, like him promising to resign and then leaving for Brooklyn, the kind of lack of team success when he was healthy, and just the too many stars, too many cooks in the kitchen type of narrative they had, the Boston Celtics, with the 2 years that he was there. He's been receiving boos in Boston forever since then. He stomped on the Lucky logo. He flipped off fans. So the love between Kyrie and Boston is very mutual at this point. Porzingis' time in Dallas was also a bit weird. They shot for the fences trying to trade for him, and because they knew how good Luka was, and they traded for him, and on theory, it seemed like it should work. But their relationship never really worked out. They could have had a possible run in 2020 if he was healthy, but it never happened. And then they traded him to the Wizards, banished him to the Wizards. So that was fun. So those are like the 2 main narratives in this series. Obviously, there's also the star narratives. Will Luka get his first ring? Will Tatum and the Celtics get over the hump and get their first ring since 2008? They've made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 6 out of the last 8 years. Made it to the finals once before in the last 3 years and lost against the Warriors. So they've just been a perennial Eastern Conference team, and they've just never made it over the hump. And this has been their best team and their best chance to win a ring. All right, now let's talk about Boston's offense. Their offense is heavily reliant on their three-point shooting. 47.4% of their shots are threes. They average 40 per game, and they make about 14 per game. Everyone on their team, their top 8 guys, can shoot very efficiently. Jrue Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, and Sam Hauser all made 100 threes in this regular season. They can run a 5-out spread offense, hunting for the best threes. Their coach, Joe Mazzulla, definitely emphasizes three-point shooting, and they play the numbers and the math game because, 3 is bigger than 2. And they've just been the most efficient offense in the entire year, to be honest. They have basically 4 reliable ball handlers in their starting lineup. Obviously, Tatum and Brown can do a lot offensively for themselves and for others, as well as Derek White and Jrue Holiday. They just have a lot of different options when they swing the ball around the perimeter looking for 3-point shots. If there's an opportunity where one of them can catch and drive instead of catch and shoot, they will do it, and they will not hesitate to create and just keep hunting for the best 3-point shot they can. Tatum in these playoffs has put up 26 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. He gets a lot of flack online for inefficient scoring nights and whatnot, and sometimes he does deserve it. He can take really poor shots and shot selection at some points, but he is still a really great player, potentially top 5 player in the league, definitely top 10 for sure. He's a great slasher. You just hope he doesn't fall in love with the pull-up twos, which he doesn't really have a very good percentage on at all in these playoffs. And the sidestep 3, which when it goes in, it's great, and when it doesn't and he's just spamming it, it's very frustrating. But Tatum, yeah, he deserves more respect. He's been the best player for the Celtics. Second best player, however, Jaylen Brown, and sometimes debatably the best player, has had a great playoff run. He won Eastern Conference Finals MVP against the Pacers, where he put up 30 points on 50% from the field. His rim pressure for this Celtics team has been crucial, as he averages 65% in the paint. For a Celtics team that have the lowest rate of shots in the paint out of any team in this playoffs, so they don't really get to the paint at all. So Jaylen Brown's ability to drive and put pressure on the rim and score so efficiently at the rim is great for the Celtics team. We also got to mention Porzingis, who has been out for basically the entire playoffs. He's been out for a month with a calf injury, and the Celtics didn't even bat an eye that he was gone. They just kept playing their way, and now that he's back, he just adds another huge 3-point shooting threat. He shoots beyond the arc more often than not. As a 7'3" dude, it's hard to contest or even affect his 3-point shot anyway. In the post, he's been, I think, the most efficient post player in the league. If there's any situation where he gets a smaller guy, I mean, everybody's smaller compared to him, but a much smaller guy on him in the post, he will not blink to, attack that. Now to talk about Dallas's offense is basically just give Luka the ball and let him cook. Not really though, but it kind of also is at the same time. He's averaging 29 points per game, 9.6 rebounds, 8.8 assists in the playoffs. I mean, what can you say about Luka? Top 3 in MVP, the 5th year in a row, 5 years in a row, he made all NBA first team. So yeah, I don't know. He's so good at accelerating and decelerating. His pace is so unique to him. He just looks like he doesn't look very athletic, and he kind of isn't that athletic, but he's very sneaky athletic. His ability to, like I said, accelerate and decelerate, get guys on his hip and on his back to draw fouls, and there's nothing offensively that he can't do. There's no pass that he can't make. I believe Luka is for sure the best player in this series. Kyrie, of course, has also had a great postseason. He's had a lot of games where he just scores all his points in the second half and doesn't really do as much in the first half. I think for Dallas, their sake, he can't do that in this series. But defensively, he's been great defensively for Kyrie standards. And yeah, just another ball handler who he can make any kind of shot. Any kind of shot. There's nothing offensively he can't do as well. Derek Jones Jr. and PJ Washington have been huge for the Mavericks as big wings who can do everything. They can defend, and I'm very surprised at how good PJ Washington and Derek Jones Jr. have been as big wing defenders in this playoffs for the Mavericks. I never really expected PJ Washington. I mean, he played for the Hornets, and Derek Jones Jr., they got him off for a minimum, I believe, in the offseason. So just the fact that they've been able to play 35 plus minutes per game for almost the entire playoffs, both of them, their ability to create shots for themselves at the rim sometimes when needed, and of course to hit threes. They hit so many corner threes, which we will get into because that is a huge point in this series, I believe. Also got to mention Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively II have been amazing. They've been so good at protecting the rim. Because of that, Dallas has had, I think, one of the best defenses since the trade deadline. Man, I'm so surprised by Derek Lively as a rookie center. Like his ability to defend, and he's the third best rim protecting center or just rim protector in the playoffs. Daniel Gafford is number one. They can block shots offensively. They catch so many lobs. I believe Luka and the Mavericks, not just Luka, but the Mavericks have had 49 lobs in this postseason, which is like a ton. Their vertical threat, Derek Lively in the short roll passing game has also been very impressive for a rookie. They run the floor. They've just been so good on offense. No, they've been amazing on defense, and they've been very good on offense as well. If you had to ask me what the biggest factor was in this series, I would definitely have to say it's three-point shooting. I mean, obviously the Celtics, they have been the best three-point shooting team in the league, but the Mavericks as well have been an incredible three-point shooting team. I think if we look game by game in this series, whatever team wins the three-point battle will win the game more often than not. I mean, obviously 3 is bigger than 2. It's going to be a numbers game at this point, because, I mean, both teams will not be afraid to let it fly. Ultimately, I think Luka is the best player in this series, so the biggest challenge for the Celtics is, of course, how are they going to guard him? Derek White and Jrue Holiday, of course, are all defensive players. They are amazing on the perimeter. However, Luka is a good 6'7", 230 pounds. He's very strong. He has the height advantage over both of them by like 3 or 4 inches, basically. I believe in the regular season we saw a lot more Jaylen Brown on Luka rather than White or Holiday. He's just a bigger guy, bigger wingspan, can kind of try and, you can't really affect Luka's shot, but you can do your best to contest him. Boston, however, is not afraid to switch. In fact, they are very comfortable switching. I mean, every single guy in their starting 5, the Jays and White and Holiday, are great perimeter defenders and just smart team defensive players as well. A big question in this series is the Mavericks' three-point shooting, specifically the fact that they are a really good corner three-point shooting team. 34% of their threes are from the corner, and they make about 4.6 per game, with PJ Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. being basically the majority of those shots. However, Boston is the best team at defending the corner 3, allowing just 18% of threes to come from the corner. That'll be a huge factor in this series, because if you're Luka or Kyrie, you want to try and create for others. PJ and Derrick Jones Jr. are going to be in those corners. You're going to have Jaylen Brown on you. You have one of them screen, or you have Derek Lively or Gafford screen for you. And then you're going to have, in the regular season, Tatum was on Lively. So if you get Lively up as Luka to screen for you, you're going to switch from Jaylen Brown to Jason Tatum. Derek White and Jrue Holiday will not be afraid. I don't think they'll be afraid to just sag off the PJ and Derrick Jones Jr. in the corner, because obviously both of them have been really good in this postseason at hitting the corner 3 and just three-point shooting in general compared to the regular season. I think the Celtics are going to test that out, especially in the first few games. If they don't get totally killed by them, they're going to test out Derek White and Jrue Holiday helping off of them, putting their hands in the driving lanes to help with Luka drives and Kyrie drives, to try and just make it as muddied as they can, because Luka will get that pass off if he is able to, but I believe the Celtics will trust their defensive rotations and their ability to recover on those 3-point shots, and just I think they'll live. If Luka has a poor shooting game, they'll live with a Derrick Jones Jr. or a PJ Washington hitting 3 or 4 corner 3s, because if they're gonna let the other guys beat them, they're not gonna let Luka beat them. I mean, that's what they want. That's a different story if Luka is gonna let them or be able to get beaten by them. In the pick and roll, like I said, I think Porzingis and Horford will play drop defense. I think Horford can switch a bit more than Porzingis. I think Porzingis on a switch against Luka would be barbecue chicken. But yeah, I think they're going to try and get them to shoot more mid-range shots and floaters and whatever, which is, they can definitely do that, Luka and Kyrie, but is that the shot profile that they want? Probably not. I think something else to look at is the Mavericks' offensive rebounding. Boston doesn't allow a lot of second chance points, They're a very solid defensive rebounding team, but Derek Lively and Gafford have been great at offensive rebounding in this playoffs, so the rebound battle will definitely be something to watch for. Boston being such a switchable team will definitely lead to some isolations for Kyrie and Luka at some points, and at that point it's just a battle of offense and defense, whether Boston can contest well enough and will Kyrie and Luka hit these tough shots. They definitely can. It's just a matter of will they. And another interesting thing to look at is the fact that Boston does not blitz the ball handler at all. They do not send two on the ball, putting pressure on them at all, and that has actually been the best way to defend Luka in this in the postseason. Like in possessions where Luka gets blitzed and he has to take the ball out of his hands, if he's not getting the ball to Kyrie, if he's getting to Derrick Jones Jr. or Lively or whoever, now you get a 4-on-3, but the ball isn't in somebody, they're going to live with PJ or Derrick Jones trying to create something for themselves in a 4-on-3 situation. If it gets to Kyrie, that's a different question. But I just don't think that Boston will do it that much, even though the Mavericks have been slowed down a little bit when they do get blitzed. I just don't know if Boston will do it. I think they just trust their 1-on-1 or 2v2 defense too much. I mean, rightfully so. They have a great defensive team and great defensive players, but it'll be interesting to see if they ever pull it out. They should. I think they should, but will they? Now, the Mavericks have been a great defensive team in this playoffs as well. Their rim protection with Lively and Gafford is really good. However, Boston, being the most efficient offense and the best three-point shooting team, will definitely stretch their defense a bit with Horford and Porzingis. However, this is not something completely new because, the Mavericks went through Chet Holmgren, they went through Karl Anthony Towns, so it's not a question of, can they defend the three with their bigs like this? It's just how will they? And will Porzingis and Horford really punish them? Will we get a Horford game where he hits 4 threes? Maybe, and if so, that might be that's probably very damaging. Or will, Porzingis, all this time off, he'll be a little rusty. Will he even make a lot of threes in this series? You'd think so, right? I think defensively, the Mavericks also have to figure out how they're going to go when Boston targets or attacks Luka and Kyrie. Boston has done that a lot. Brown and Tatum have not been afraid to attack the smallest defender or the weakest link in the defense. They did that with Tyler Hero. They did that with Darius Garland, with Halliburton. Will Kyrie be next? I know Kyrie has been great defensively, but compared to a Tatum and a Brown, will he be able to hold his own? Likely not. So we'll see how the Mavericks respond to that defensively and what kind of rotations and help they do on those actions. Same with Luka. I think Brown and Tatum will look to attack Luka, and he has had his defensive moments, but he does so much offensively. You're not going to expect him to exert the most defensive effort, so we'll see how that works. A big question for both teams is what are they willing to live with? For the Mavericks, what are they willing to lose? What battle are they willing to lose in this series that they think they can still win overall? Can they give up threes? I don't really think so because the Celtics will punish them for that. Will they give up some rim protection because their defense has been so good at defending the paint? I'm not sure. For example, if the Celtics don't attack enough in opportunities when the bigs are pulled out of the paint, and they fall in love with taking these bad threes instead of attacking the paint when they have opportunities like open driving lanes and whatnot, that would be a huge win for Dallas. Another point to talk about is the transition points. Boston and Dallas are both great transition defenses and don't really cause a lot of turnovers either. What will the pace of play for both teams be? I know Luka likes to play very methodically and whatnot. And Kyrie sometimes when he's alone on the court with the other guys tries to push the pace a little bit and try and get more easy shots. Which bench will be more useful? Josh Green, Derek Lively, Maxi Kleber. Maybe we see some Jaden Hardy, Tim Hardaway Jr. Will he have a game where he finally shows up and shoots threes versus Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser and Al Horford? Will Sam Hauser have a 7-3 made game in this series? Maybe. It's possible. He will shoot that thing. Is it likely? I don't know. Overall, this will be a very tough series for either team to win. I mean, the Celtics have been dominant and won so much this year. In close game situations, I do trust Luka with the ball the most, as sometimes the Celtics, their worst habits have been, running the clock too much, taking bad isolations, and just bad shot attempts, doing a your turn, my turn thing with Jalen, Jason. If they just don't do that, I think the Celtics will be really hard to beat. X factors, if I didn't mention already, obviously the 3-point shooting. The shooting of PJ and Derek Jones Jr. is huge. How does Porzingis play? Is Maxi Kleber going to get some run and create a 5-out offense for the Mavericks? And his ability to defend a Tatum or a Brown with his size and able to his ability to move his feet a little bit. Will Jrue and White be harassing Kyrie too much and kind of shut him down, make him be inefficient, have some bad shooting nights, 6 of 20 type deals, 3 of 18, 5 of 23 or something like that? Will he have really bad shooting nights because of Jrue and White? Will the Celtics be okay with Luka having 50 if it means that nobody else gets started and they lose because of it? I think they would be. Will Brown and Tatum attack the rim more, or will Brown really have a great rim series? Will Jrue be consistent from 3? Will Horford be consistent from 3? Lastly, I just want to mention the coaches. Jason Kidd and Mazzulla are both great coaches. They are not afraid to make in-game adjustments and between-game adjustments for sure. I think this will be a great chess match for both teams and both coaches to see what they are willing to give up. My final prediction is going to be a cop-out. I'm going to say if it's 6 games that the Boston wins in 6 games, but if it goes to a game 7, I'm picking Luka and the Mavericks in 7 games.